Welcome to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast, where we learn about some success stories and some not so successful stories. But either way, we learn. Each episode, we talk with successful real estate agents and vendors about things they have done to make them successful and some things they did that you might want to avoid. Join us for each episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin.
All right, listeners. Well, I have a great vendor here for you. And although I hate that term, vendor. I'm technically a vendor too. We need to come up with something better, but somebody who can help you as you're selling real estate or buying real estate. Something that almost everybody needs is a termite letter. And I got the guy here for you that can do that, but can do so much more. Mr. Josh Hartsoe, how are you doing, brother?
Good, Preston. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, tell us a little bit about what and all. Tell us about your company and what you offer. And the audience is primarily real estate agents. So tell us about how you can save them time, money, or both.
Right. So recently just started up Cornerstone Home Defense. I've been in the pest control industry for a little over 16 years, and I started from just being a technician and running a route to kind of working my way up through management, and eventually becoming a branch manager with another company for about 7 or 8 years. And that company was bought out by another private equity firm. So we started this because we wanted to have a locally owned and operated option for our customers in the York County, Charlotte area. So we started that. We're a full service pest control company. We do pest, termite, crawl space remediation work. And how we can help the realtors is, like you just mentioned, with needing a termite letter for most sales of homes, and anybody that's financing a home, the lender usually requires what we call a CO 100 in South Carolina or a wood destroying insect report in North Carolina. And if anything comes back on those reports from termites to powder post beetles, those things have to be remediated before the lender will move forward with the transaction. So it's important to have a good relationship with a pest control. Get out there. Hold up.
So the last part of what you said there cut off a second there.
I'm sorry. So I was just saying it's very important to have a good relationship with a pest control company. That way, if there are any issues with the with the report, that we can get out there quickly to remediate it, so it's not holding up the transaction or pushing closing dates back, that sort of thing.
100%. So you do the WDIR, the CO 100, South Carolina. It's the same thing. It's just two different states, and what they require. And it's usually, you're 100% correct. It's usually the lending institution that requires it, and then you can treat it if there's a problem. What if you don't? Some other company did the inspection. Like, hey, I'm Joe Smith, real estate agent. This came back. They're telling me I got termites. They're giving me this price, but would you also give me a competitive price? Can I send it to you? Can you help me out even if you didn't do the WDIR?
Absolutely, yeah. So if we didn't actually perform the inspection, if another company performed the inspection, and it came back, with some issues on it, you can send it to us. We'll get one of our guys out to take a look at it, just to make sure, there wasn't anything missed. We'll do an inspection, give you a quote for remediation, and obviously there's no charge for us to come out and check that. And then afterwards, if you decide to use us and perform the remediation treatments, we can write you what we call a clean CL 100, or write you a clean report after the remediation process has been taken care of. And we normally don't charge anybody if they used us to do the remediation. We wouldn't charge them to write a clean CL 100 at that point.
Cool. So tell me, Josh, what's your range? How far, of a radius do you cover?
So we would typically go anywhere from an hour and a half from the Charlotte Mecklenburg County area. So we would go, we have accounts that we treat in Greensboro, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina. So, about an hour and a half from the office here.
Okay. If I'm a real estate agent and I want you to do a CO 100 or WR, do I have to be there for you to do it, or does the client have to be there for you to do it?
No, so our inspector Jared Hewlin has a super key and has access to showing time. So if a real estate agent were to call us, need an inspection, we have the ability to use that super key for access. Or if they have a lockbox code instead of the super key, they can give us that code, and then Jared can set it up with the homeowner through showing time so that they can approve the date and time. And basically, that's all we need.
Sweet, sweet. So, tell me, we've talked before and we're friends. What else can you offer? Like you said, you mentioned, obviously we've covered wood destroying insects, which is vital for a real estate transaction for sure. But you also have sort of a deal with or to help people out with in the pest control world. Let me, for realtors that don't know, there's kind of like two parts, right? There's like the wood destroying insect part. It's a separate license, actually. I mean, they're all under the same, but it's like a W phase. The wood destroying insects, the powder post beetles, termites, all that. And then there's like structural pests, right? That's like roaches, ants. Still pests and still bad, not as financially destructive as the other.
Right.
But you have sort of a deal where you can help them out with those too, right? Like a lot of people do. And correct me if anything I said was wrong.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So on the court, so we offer quarterly pest control services for residential homes. And basically what we do is come out every 3 months, do a perimeter treatment around the outside, an interior crack and crevice treatment. And what we do is we offer those realtors that refer the work to us, the remediation work to try to get a clear letter. We offer those customers the initial pest service for free, which is usually
Awesome.
Anywhere from $159 to $200 for the initial service. And then all the homeowner has to do is just keep up with the quarterly package, or they can pay monthly as well. But the services are quarterly. But if they have any issues in between services, we come back out at no charge to take care of any issues that may be popping up for the pests that we are trying to prevent from coming in. It doesn't cover all pests like flying insects and stuff like that. Sometimes there's an extra cost included with that. But as far as we call them occasional invaders, like your ants and your American cockroaches, those sort of things, all those are covered under the quarterly service. And if you have any issues with those, we come back out at no charge. But yeah, we try to offer that initial for free. Let us get in there and show you the type of company we are and that we can be trusted and everything. And then you can continue with the maintenance program after that.
Let me ask you this, Josh. I have a little bit of a pest control background, but we just do WDRs and CO1. We don't treat. But I worked for a company way back that did it. What's your opinion? And a lot of real estate, you hear the chemical treatment versus the baits. We talk about termites now. What's your opinion? Just if I'm a novice at this, what should I do? A chemical treatment? Should I do bait? Should I do a combination? What's your advice to somebody getting a treatment?
So what I usually recommend to customers, and the bait stations and the baits that we currently use have come a long way. There's basically two types out there. There's a Centricon and a advanced Trelona station that is used. Both of them basically work in the same way. But it's to compare the stations to the liquid. So for customers just that aren't familiar with pest control, when we do a liquid treatment, we're actually putting a chemical barrier around the foundation of the home that the termites are going to have to pass through to get to the wood members of the structure. So once they cross that barrier, we use products that we call non-repellents, and it's not a quick kill. So it doesn't kill the termite as soon as it passes through that barrier. Basically what it does is it passes through the barrier, it goes and starts to feed on the wood. It takes that cellulose material back to the colony to feed the soldiers and the queens and all that stuff. And it has what we call a transfer effect, where that it transfers that product that it got on its body when it passed through there through the rest of the colony, and that's how it eliminates the entire colony. The bait stations work very similar in the same exact mode. The only difference is we're trying to attract them to a bait to eat in those stations instead of just passing through a chemical barrier. The stations are usually 2 to 5 feet away from the foundation, and we usually put them 10 to 15 feet apart.
Right. No, I've had very similar, and correct me if I'm wrong. And I've always kind of felt like my like if I use chemicals, my chances of eliminating them, in my opinion, are a lot. I mean, they're high in both instances, but it might be 99% versus 92% or something like that with the baits, because there is a chance with the baits that just like fishing, man, for whatever reason, they're just not interested in what I'm on bait today. I don't know why, but
right. Well, yeah, I would say that there's always a chance that there's not an actual barrier there when you're using the stations, right? So, but the flip side of that is like, they could pass by the stations and get to your house. But also with the barrier, we're trenching and treating and drilling and injecting and product, underneath slabs and brick void. So, you never know once that liquid starts, going through the soil, which directions it's going to go and that sort of thing, depending on the soil type and all that sort of stuff. So there's still chances. The other thing is when you do if you do a full liquid conventional treatment, like I was explaining, there's lots of drilling, there's lots of regulations that you have to there's lots of regulations that you have to follow according to the product label, and that's going to come down to who you hire to do the treatment, right? If the treatment's not done to a T correctly, if they miss one pier, if they miss a drill hole's 24 or 30 inches apart opposed to 24 inches apart, things can happen where there's a break in that barrier where termites could still enter the home. So both of them are very reliable, and our motto has always been, you're going to do a yearly inspection anyway. So if you're doing the proper inspection yearly, you're going to find any issues that pop up. If they get past a termite station, you're going to typically find those termites before they get up to the wood members of the structure anyway.
No, I 100% agree. And, I know when I started my argument there, it sounded like I was pro chemical, but there's advantages and disadvantages to both, like you alluded to. And, if anybody has any type of, in my mind and experience, I felt like the chemical was, a little bit more effective, although they're both highly effective. But now the downside of that is it's a chemical and it's going in the ground. And you got people who are chemical sensitive. If you're anywhere on the lake or near a stream or something, there's a chance that chemical, and like you said, there's all kinds of regulations, but there's a chance that chemical could wind up where you don't want it.
Right, that's correct. Well, and the other downside, not downside, but the other negative on doing a full conventional liquid treatment, like I was mentioning, there's a lot of drilling into your patios, your garages, all that stuff that has to be done. So after we do that, we patch the holes and cover them with a concrete patch. But you're going to be able to tell that there's been some work done there. There's going to be blemishes in the sidewalk. There's going to be blemishes in the garage. And, a lot of people, I don't know if their garage is like my garage, but I got stuff all around the walls of my garage that has to be moved out away. So like there's a lot of prep work for the homeowner to do in those situations. So, the baits have come a long way, whereas they actually make above ground bait stations now, where if there's a termite tube coming up the garage wall, typically you would have to go in and drill on each side of that activity and inject that chemical underneath that slab, where now you can go tape an above ground packet to that tube that's coming up. They'll feed on it just like your state. eliminate it the same way without having to move stuff out of the garage, without having to drill and put blemishes in your concrete as well. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Both are good products. It's just kind of, what the homeowners really wanted.
Hello, I'm Bill Gallagher with Superior School of Real Estate, and I'm here with Preston Sandlin of Home Inspection Carolina. Preston, I've always liked your style, especially those pants, and also I've been interested in the home inspection business for a long time.
Well, Bill, that's ironic. I've always admired your style, and I've always admired your ability to educate these fine folks for sometimes 4-8 hours a day. I wish that I could do what you do.
Hey Preston, wouldn't it be cool if we switched? Preston, we sure got what we wished for, buddy.
We sure did. And now that you're the expert, Bill, I mean, you are wearing the pants, and I'm the instructor and the educator. Tell us what Home Inspection Carolina is doing these days to make the home buying process easier for realtors and home buyers.
Well, Preston, all our home inspection reports now are online for the real estate agent and the client to review the report online and to be able to create a repair list basically online by either clicking repair, accept, monetary compensation, and once they prepare the request, they can then press email, text, or print right then.
You mean it's all automated, Bill?
Absolutely, we are high tech.
Wow. What else is Home Inspection Carolina doing different these days?
Well, Preston, we're training our home inspectors to be non-alarmist. We are training them to put things into perspective and to simplify the message for the hopeful homeowner.
Non-alarmist is key, Bill. You remember those days of the 100-page reports and those 3-ring binders that would just go on and on and on, la 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 la. Thank you for being a good non-alarmist.
And Preston, one more thing. We fix the small stuff for free. Do you remember when home inspectors always put those little nitpicky items on those reports?
Oh, bless their hearts.
Well, at Home Inspection Carolina, if we can fix it in 5 minutes or less, we do it for free. We're better with a caulk gun than a keyboard any day. We just fix it.
You mean there's no cost for this, Bill?
Preston, it's free.
Wow.
Well, Preston, these pants really are a catch.
Well, Bill, I've enjoyed wearing the suit, but I don't think I could wear it every day because I got to fix the small stuff for free, and I don't want to ruin a good suit.
Preston, it's been a lot of fun flipping the switch.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I want to switch gears just a second too. You mentioned earlier services you provide. You do, wood destroying insects, which is we talked about. You do structural pests. I want to get into the moisture part of it because that's another big thing with real estate. Man, I got a daggone stink bug right here. Speaking of bugs,
Hey, you need to sign up for quarterly pest control. We'll come take care of that for you.
I'm afraid if I don't kill him, man, he's gonna do his little stinky thing. I don't know where that guy came from, man. That's ironic. I was sitting here talking about pest control and a daggone stink bug. I don't it came from up there, and I'm like, daggone it! And I thump that thing, you'll start stinking. Hey, I
no
want to tell you
doubt.
something. I want to go to the moisture part, but I wanted to tell you a quick story. You talk about drilling and trenching and chemical treatment. Years ago, I was treating it's the former lifetime. This is probably 20 years ago. I was doing pest control, and I was treating. We were drilling, trenching, doing chemical treatment. These condos out there at what is it? Heritage. You know where Jim
Yeah.
What is it?
Where the old water park and stuff used to be. Yeah.
Yeah. There was some condos in there. And we found termites, and we were treating the entire thing, and it was slab. So I'm going along, I'm trenching and treating, and I'm drilling, to get that, two things. I'm drilling to get the void between the two bricks and get underneath the slab, right?
Right.
Drilling us. Josh, I hit a water pipe. Daggone it. I don't know why a water pipe was right there. I mean, it shouldn't have been. Like, why would a water pipe be right there beside I don't know if it was coming up. But, as soon as I hit, dude, that thing started spewing. I was like, good Lord.
Yeah.
I had to turn the water off to the whole complex. That made me real
Oh,
popular.
geez.
I had
Yeah.
to call a
Yeah.
plumber I knew to come out there in emergency. We had to take a couple bricks out, and he had to sweat that pipe and put a new section in, and we fixed
Uh,
it and all. But you
y-
talk about not a fun day.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny
Those we
now, but it wasn't funny then.
no, we've had similar situations happen over the years, and yeah, it's not fun. The homeowner's usually not very happy with us, but things happen when you start drilling into concrete and brick and all
You
that
don't know
stuff that
where
you
it
can't.
was there.
You don't know where it's at. So, like similar to you, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we try to always make it right and do it in a timely manner so it's not inconveniencing the homeowner.
Yeah, we fixed it that day. To this day, I'm like, why was a water pipe? I mean, because I do home inspections. I'm like, that water pipe shouldn't have been there, but it was. But
Yeah,
who knows? I think now
yeah,
some of them, I played around with that. Well, didn't they have something like on the drill bit where if it sensed anything, it would cut off? But then the problem with that was we tried to use that, and it just any little thing would set it off. Where it would stop
yeah,
drilling or something, and then
yeah.
it wasn't practical.
Those were. Yeah, it was more of a nuisance than anything. Like you said, it's rare that you run into those cases where you hit pipes and stuff like that. So it was delaying more than it was helping us. So we never really got into using those.
Yeah. Now that I'm taking us way down a rabbit hole, but good story.
Yeah,
But anyway, so I don't want to hold you up too long. I know you got work to do. Moisture. That's an issue, and that comes up on the home inspection report and the WDIR.
right.
Typically, correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously moisture is a problem. Usually 20% is kind of like the threshold. Seems like if it's
Yeah,
above 20, you got to get it down.
yeah.
What do you guys do? That comes back on the WDIR or the CO 100. Could lead to the M word that rhymes with sold. Which is a dirty word in our
Right.
industry, real estate industry.
Yeah.
But it's also conducive for termites, so that's why it's on there for that and wood destroying fungi and all that. So, tell us, what do you do about moisture, man? I have an inspection, comes back, man. I got 28% moisture. I might have some
Yeah.
M-word stuff under there. What do you
Yeah.
do to help me out?
So what we do is, like on the reports, anything over 20% is probably going to be a red flag to the lender where they're going to want that remediated before they move forward. Anything between 20 and 28% we consider non-active wood fungi. Once you get over the 28% mark, they consider that active fungi. Either way, from 20 to 28, if it's over 28, then you've got a little bigger problem under there than 2021. But either way, they're going to ask for that to be remediated. Typically, what we do is if there's not a moisture barrier underneath the crawl space, and when I say moisture barrier, I'll put it in layman. It's the plastic underneath the crawl space for people not familiar with our industry, but it's basically just a poly 12 mil. I mean, it goes anywhere from 6 mil to 20 mil. Typically most homes have just the basic 6 mil under it that was done when the home was built. That does a good job, but if you're having moisture issues, a little thicker barrier under there helps. Sealing the crawl space up completely is probably the best way to go about it. That way you don't have any moisture issues down the road. And that can be, it can go from anywhere from just sealing up the vents, the foundation vents, and closing all the outside air coming underneath the crawl space off and throwing a dehumidifier under there, a very basic end cap, to all the way from, running poly up the walls, wrapping piers, doing a full encapsulation of the crawl space. We don't do a whole lot of those. We can do them, but we usually are, kind of on what we call a hybrid encapsulation, where we're going to throw you a thicker poly down, we're going to throw you a dehu, and we're going to seal off all the outside air from coming underneath there and make it kind of enclosed crawl space. And it's, I've done it to my house. I recently built a house in 2019, and within a year of living there, all our AC and duct work was underneath our crawl space. And within a year of doing it, it got so humid under there that our hardwood floor started buckling, and you could feel it as you was wiping a duster across our hardwood floors. You could feel the floor
Oh,
the
wow.
hardwood floor is going uneven. So like I encapsulated mine within a year of moving into my new home. And, it's, especially if your ductwork's underneath your crawl space, you're going to run into moisture issues at some point. Just because the way the South is and the humid air we have going across that ductwork creates condensation, and it's just a problem underneath those crawl spaces. So, we have different scenarios, different situations, but yeah, I mean, throwing a poly and a dehue and just sealing off the outside air is the main goal. And usually you can get that moisture down under 20% pretty quickly.
Yeah. You know what I tell customers, Josh, is those ranch houses, after World War II, all the way up through the
Mhm.
80s. I grew up in one. Just
Right.
the hallway right down the middle of the house, kitchen, living room, couple bedrooms. You know the house, right?
Yeah.
Actually, from the front to the back of the house, it's not a real wide house, I guess, or deep house. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
let me rephrase that. They're wide, they're long this way, but short from the back. And there's vents. If it's crawl space, the ventilation wise, that's a good design because as long as those vents are open, you got good cross ventilation. And
You're
I
right.
always say, if you got one of those houses and you got high moisture, usually putting down some poly, open those vents, you're good to go.
Yeah.
More than likely, because you got good cross ventilation. The problem comes
Right.
in when all these McMansions came around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You got the 3-car garage, meaning no vents.
Right.
You got a
Yeah.
porch going all the way back down the backside. Now, and you went from 1,200 square feet to 3,800 square feet. So you got a lot more. You just don't have the cross ventilation that you did with the old ranch house. And
Right.
and again, correct me if I'm wrong. It's just my experience.
Right.
It's not all. I could be wrong. I feel like those are the ones that are more like maybe putting down the poly isn't going to be enough because you still got dead airspace. That's more
Right.
For encapsulation. Encapsulation is going to cost more.
Right. Yeah.
But I always say, encapsulation would work on a ranch house, but it may not be necessary. But you get a
Right.
McMansion, obviously there's more to this. I'm simplifying, but I
Yeah.
feel
So,
like,
and that's why we give, like, it's not a one solution, right? There's a bunch of solutions for different types of structures and that sort of thing. We currently work with a builder now that actually, when they build their homes that are on crawl spaces, they don't even put foundation vents in. They go ahead and encapsulate the crawl space during the build, which obviously saves the homeowner, money down the road. But, it's like I said, people are starting to realize the concept of what you're talking about, like on a ranch style home, works. But when you start getting in those other homes, like you said, the airflow is just not there. So it's gonna become a problem at some point. It wouldn't even surprise me if they kind of change the building code down the road where if a home's going to be on a crawl space, that it has to be encapsulated from the start of it. Just because it's going to eventually become an issue, especially with the ductwork. Sometimes the ductwork's in your attic and in the ceilings. It's not quite as big a problem underneath there, but if your ductwork's down there, you're going to run into condensation issues eventually.
Yeah, encapsulation works. I mean, and for all the listeners out there, I always say, if you want to think about encapsulation, think about your refrigerator. I got a cold drink right here. If I take this out on a hot July day, within minutes, it's humid, I'm going to have condensation on it. But if I put this in my refrigerator, I'm not. So think about your encapsulated crawl space like that refrigerator and a normal crawl space like going outside. So it's just expensive to do it is the problem.
Yeah, it's expensive to do it. And, most of the time, especially during these real estate transactions with, a new homeowner moving in and someone trying to sell it, those things can get up, anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000, depending on the severity and what exactly they want done. And, you get into a $10,000 repair on a real estate transaction. There's some fighting over who's paying for it and is it coming off of that and all that kind of stuff. So, there's options out there to keep it underneath that big ticket item and still get it a clean letter to be able to continue the transaction. And then there's opportunities, after the new homeowner moves in, if they want to do a full end cap, they can. There's always options. There's great finance companies out there that, do a lot of financing on home improvements that you can pay interest free for so many months and stuff like that. So there's options out there to get stuff done, even though some of that stuff does get rather expensive.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you have all kinds of solutions, depending on what the situation is. And I like the fact that, it sounds like you two aren't going to recommend, I'm trying to, like, if you don't need the most expensive solution,
Absolutely.
to pay for that, and I know some folks
Yeah,
are not going to throw shade, but
right. Well, we pride ourselves on, obviously we're in business. We have to make money too, right?
Sure.
But
We all do.
we really pride ourselves into offering a solution and a price to fix the problem so that the transaction can keep moving for realtors. There's nothing worse than getting in a situation where you're supposed to close in 3 weeks, but you got this big ticket item that you can't get scheduled. Because the other thing especially with the crawl spaces, sometimes that work can take 2 or 3 days depending on what exactly you're doing. So if you're butting up close to closing, we don't want to have to push the closing or just the transaction go away altogether. So we want to offer a solution, and most of the time the sellers are the ones fronting the bill to try to get this remediated for the new buyer before they move in. So we want to give them a solution that's going to be good for the seller, obviously, to keep the cost as low as possible to get the transaction moving. But also we want to be fair to the new homeowner, right? We don't want to just put a Band-Aid on something that they're going to be dealing with, 6 months down the road after they've moved into a brand new home. And we come to them and say, hey, we kind of put a Band-Aid on this, it's going to cost $6,000 to really fix it right. We want to be fair to both parties involved and just offer a solution that's conducive for everybody.
100%. And for all the real estate agents out there, you probably know this already, but if you don't, you have the most leverage with anything termite, pest control, moisture related. And the reason is because the lending institution is requiring that. See, like a lot of home inspection issues, people say, well, what has to be repaired? Well, nothing really. I mean, it's all negotiable. Usually there's some compromise. But the thing with the termite, like you said, all right, if I don't fix this, that person's not getting the loan. They can't buy my house. And guess what? The next buyer, they're also getting a loan. So,
right.
It's going to be required to get this fixed. The moisture issues and
the lender's going to
get the loan.
Yeah. Yeah, the lender's going to want anything fixed that could possibly be, structural integrity of the home. You know what I mean? And moisture issues, obviously any kind of wood destroying issues would be involved in the structural integrity of the home. So that most of the time they're going to require to get those fixed.
Awesome. Well, I want to get your contact info. Before I do, just you got enough minutes for the lightning round real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
It's this or that. So I give you 2 things and you pick. All right.
Okay.
Football or basketball? Right. Football or basketball?
Football.
Christmas Vacation or Elf?
Christmas Vacation.
Animal House or Caddyshack?
Caddyshack.
Celebrity crush. Hopefully your wife doesn't see this.
Oh boy. Jennifer.
Who? His thing cut out there.
Sorry. I guess Jennifer Aniston, I guess would be mine. All
right.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. I've heard that before. Would you rather have a phone call or text?
Phone call.
iOS or Android?
Android.
Big party or small gathering?
Small gathering.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Flip-flops or tennis shoes?
Flip-flops.
Ginger or Marianne?
Marianne.
Marianne, that's what most people say. And the most, coffee, hot or cold?
Oh, hot for sure.
A day at the amusement park or a day at the beach?
Man, that's a tough one because I don't really like either one of those, to be honest with you. But I guess I'd rather go lay on the beach than get on a bumpy roller coaster for sure.
There you go. And the last and most important one, toilet paper, over or under? Like the mullet or the beard?
Over.
Over. That's what everybody says, unless they have cats. People say they have cats because cats will undo it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about that.
But I even know some home inspectors that'll change it. And I'll be like, man, don't be doing that at somebody else's house. That's not your house. Around. Like,
No kidding.
It's like, it bothers me. I was like, it's not your house.
No kidding.
Anyway, all right, Josh. So how realtors here? I know they got some good information. How can they follow up with you if they'd like to, use you for pest control work, inspection work, or just ask you questions? And is there multiple ways they can contact you?
Yeah. So the easiest way to contact me is I'll just give out my cell number is 803-234-1943, and they can call me with questions or quotes or whatever they want to get done. They can check us out on our website at www.cornerstonehomedefense.com, or they can email me at jhartsoe@cornerstonehomedefense.com as well.
So it's cornerstonehomedefense.com.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and even if I didn't remember the email, could I email through the website?
Yes, there's a way to email through the website, and there's also a web submission form that they can go in there and fill out their information and submit it, and it'll kick all that straight to my email.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I appreciate it. Everybody out there, cornerstonehomedefense.com. This guy, you got problems, this guy's got solutions. If your problems are pest or moisture related, I think he can come up with some solutions for you.
Yep, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thanks, Josh. Catch you on the flip side.
You've been listening to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin. Join us on the next episode, where we'll be talking to a successful agent or vendor about the right things to do and the wrong things you should avoid. Join us on the next episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast.